welcome Abby Lim, the candidate for N36 Bandar Utama
Thank you.
under the party of MUDA.
Thank you for having me.
So really get started?
Yep.
Question 1. So will you push for, table and vote in favor of the urgent enactment of the Selangor Climate Emergency Act?
Of course. That would be a no-brainer for me.
Will you push for, table and vote in favor to institutionalize the just transition mechanism?
Definitely. You are speaking my language right here, girl.
Will you push for, table and vote in favor for the Freedom of Information Act so that the public can access information related to the environment, climate, and all administrative and governance matters not directly related to national security?
Yeah, definitely. Especially what happened yesterday and today regarding the PJD link under the OSA Act. So we definitely need access of information.
Will you push for and table in favor of the citizens' freedom to criticize and question the Question Governance Act on all matters of the government, especially related to the protection of environment, indigenous peoples' rights, biodiversity, wildlife rights, climate, and social justice, allowing Malaysians the liberty from prosecution and persecution in defending their rights to rule of law, clean air, water, and a clean ecosystem, human right protections, and all other fundamental liberties?
Yes, I will.
Will you defend and push for measures to ensure the protection of existing forest reserves in your state, Selangor, and to ensure the same in other states so that forests remain intact as whole functioning ecosystems?
Yes. It's not just important to me, but it's important because it's a natural life cycle of, Earth itself. And without even knowing it, we all rely on each other, but people don't see it as is. They don't think they need trees, they don't think they need animals, and only some of them, they realize that, look, I really need green spaces during the pandemic. So I feel like a lot of people are beginning to educate themselves on that, and this is definitely the time to push that. And I mean, it should have been pushed a long time ago, but unfortunately, we're in this position right now.
Will you push for changes in law or table in parliament to bring back local council elections?
Well, if I'm elected, that's one of the first few things that we in MUDA we released a press statement regarding local council elections, because there's no accountability for elected appointments now. I mean, for councillor appointees now. Right now, they're all appointed by political appointed. Sorry, I just mixed my words, but accountability can only come if we give back the power to the people to elect who they want in as a councillor.
Do you place your voters and your constituents in Bandar Utama and their needs and rights and aspirations over that of your political party and your conscience and morality?
Of course, yes, definitely. I think that's one of the reasons why I joined MUDA as well, because I wouldn't have to have a huge tall order. I don't really have to toe the line of, I don't know, some funders or this funder. We're all about focusing on issues and solutions, community first. We want it to be the true voice of the people instead of putting political party needs first.
Will you push for a Malaysian Harmony Act that promotes compassion, kindness, and accommodation for all diversity of opinion, culture, personal choices, and inclusivity?
Yes.
What do you see as the main issues in the constituency that have to be dealt with?
The first thing is urban planning in Bandar Utama. If you've been to Bandar Utama, traffic there is horrendous. But the solutions that are provided right now is build more roads, build more highways, instead of, looking into the problems in public transportation or even the pedestrian. It's disconnected, it's not walkable, and it's not convenient. Public transportation is supposed to be it's supposed to be convenient, and it's not even on time. And especially when you look at a lot of these MBPJ facilities, there's poor maintenance, especially, for example, the MBPJ food court that I went yesterday. It's at Iklim. After almost 10 years of planning to upgrade the place, there's been no action still. So there's no urgency in people first urban planning. And that's one of the first thing I would tackle. And there's also the issues of stray dogs. And people in Bandar Utama are really compassionate and they're big animal lovers, but it's not reflected on by the current administration. If they're really not being heard. So the other one is I definitely would want this. I mean, the second issue that I spoke to people is about green spaces. You need to give people the parks. There's overdevelopment right now. So much buildings are being built, but they don't take into account of green spaces. And also urban farming is quite. Urban farming in Bandar Uatma I would say it's quite mature compared to other places. But if you look at all these underutilized space, it can be still utilized, and it can provide people with green jobs, and that's something that I really want to push for. So I guess the last one would be like what we mentioned, structured governance. We want local council election. We want to councillors should be accountable for their actions, not just be there for 5 years, smile and leave. I mean, the first person you call if you have a problem with your longkang or something, you call the councillors, and if they don't pick up, that's really the end of it. And a lot of people just get frustrated on these issues.
So what is your vision for Bandar Uatma if you're elected as Adun?
I want to make Bandar Uatma livable again. I want it to be an accessible place. A place that you can walk around, cycle in the evening, or you feel safe to actually jog. And having public transportation, like buses on time with dedicated bus lanes, that will be one of the first. And I hope that Bandar Uatma can be an example for other constituents to emulate what we're doing. So it's my goal to set Bandar Uatma as an example on how we can make a city sustainable but also economically viable, and to not put developers' interests first but people's interests first. For example, all these huge PJT link project that was just been scrapped, it actually affects the people's property valuation. These are their homes, right? They've been there for 40 years, 50 years.
Yes.
Yeah. So most of these big projects don't take into account of the communities that are staying in that area. So we're for development, but it has to be responsible development. And we spoke to so many people, and their concern is not whether it's going to make their place ugly or what. It's because it's their home. Then they just told me, where are we going to go if they buy over this house? Where are my neighbors going to go? My neighbor is 60 years old, 70 years old. They're so used to staying in that place. And you see all these kids just playing around the parks without the highways. But if the highway is built, it'll disrupt everything. It'll make it, the roads there are not even crossable already, if that's even a word. But highways, in a way, built this barrier in communities. And I want to bring communities back together again. And I want to bring back this holistic approach on how we can actually thrive as a community sustainably. Rapid fire question.
Question 1. As your role in Adun, would you introduce systemic change in state and PBTs to improve the service delivery people-centric, inclusive, to make it people-centric, inclusive, and holistic, and focus on institutional reforms and structural changes? Yes, no, or pass?
Yes.
Anti-corruption. Will you work actively to eliminate corrupt practices in state and local councils?
Yep.
Holistic. Would you take a holistic, whole-of-society approach in managing Selangor?
I think that's the only way.
Will you institutionalize public participation and increase local representation by reinstating a local council election?
Yep.
Will you actively promote unity and harmony in communities, constituencies, towns, and cities, eliminating negatives of race and religion?
Oh yes, this is one of the main reasons why I'm running as well, because we've been following politics for a very long time, and it's been the same cycle. But we're here. We want to progress as a country, not to always play catch up with the other country like Singapore.
Okay, the next one is transparency. Do you support transparency in state and PBT processes? Question the use of Official Secrets Acts for issues that have no threat to the nation.
Yes.
Will you curb overdevelopment and in line with the integrated master plans that have been released?
Yep. Yes,
B40 housing, will you prioritize the improvement of living quality in PPR and low-cost flats?
definitely. We were just in a PPR and they love gardening, but there's just no space for them. So they normally plant their chilies and plant all these vegetable in like illegal land right next to it. And I think it's really important to set up a space just for them to do all this because they're adding value to the food system. They're also making the place nicer. But it's just that I don't know why a lot of things that are common sense is not being done right now.
Next one is transportation. Will you help with public transportation, especially in first and last mile connectivity?
Yes.
And will you implement a Selangor Climate Emergency Act and Climate Change Select Committee?
Yes, girl, I would be the first person to shout about it if I could.
That's lovely. Okay, that's all the questions that we have from our side. Now you have a couple of minutes to introduce yourself, tell us about your experience, address any controversial topics that have come up with you. Is there anything you want to talk about? Here's your chance to.
I do want to say this. When I came into the political scene, I got a lot of comments saying that climate change is not even in Malaysia. Why are you talking about it? And climate change is like it's a rich people issue. It's like a T20 issue and whatnot. I think like it's really important to address that climate change is not an elitist issue. It affects the poorest and marginalized people the most. And also there's also questions that you bring up urban planning, but urban planning there's nothing to do with climate change. But this is where we come in, the messaging on how we can localize the climate crisis and help people to understand that all of these, without public transportation, we'll have more cars, more emissions, and there's heat islands. That's my challenge on how I'm gonna try to localize this. And the message is we don't have much time, guys. Like we really, really do not have much time. And if we don't do something at least by 2023 by now, and I'm pretty sure you've heard of the 2030 Paris Agreement. A lot of people think like, Malaysia's fine. We have 50% forest cover. We don't really need to do much. But everyone plays a part, and the climate crisis is human induced. It's not actually a natural disaster by some superpower on top. Yes, I believe in God, but at the same time, we also have to bring science to the table. So that is my message. The climate crisis affects us all, and it's not just happening in other countries. And we can all feel it right now. There's more floods, the weather's getting hotter, and a lot of, like you guys organize the nonprofits, the NGOs, private sectors, they're all heading to that direction on how do we make our company sustainable. Although some are greenwashing, but it's fine, at least they try. But everyone is heading to that direction except our politicians. And I come in to actually send that message and just to prove to them, like, look, this is a main challenge in the main issue of our generation. I know you're probably not so worried about it because you only have 20 more years or whatnot, but they're making decisions for our future, and that has to change.
The next one. So why should we vote for you, Abby?
Because I'm not really good at selling myself, but I definitely would focus on issues and solutions. I would focus on how we can make this community, this country better, in a sense where we can coexist in harmony with people and planet. And I will prove to everybody that it is not expensive. It is money making as well, especially businesses. And it is possible to eliminate single-use plastic usage in Bandar Uatma. But we have to start somewhere. And I hope that people would give me this chance and opportunity to prove it to them that Malaysia can be the one that takes the first step in addressing this issue.
Thank you so much for being a part.
Thank you so much, Shreya.